Well, what's up, good people? Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. It is hump day, which means in less than 6 hours, 6.5 hours, I've got the Dan Salito show, and I've got to go over here and do some work. I got to finish getting the cabinet set so that way the granite company can come in tomorrow and do the measurements and stuff and get back down to my beautiful bride. But it looks like it's going to probably be tomorrow before we'll be able to go back down to see her and good old Joe Boo. But be that as it may, you do what you have to do to take care of your family and your obligations. The thing that's crazy to me, when I listen to everybody, and I want people to, if the Cowboys don't go to the Super Bowl, or if they make the playoffs and they fail in the playoffs, I want you to remember where we started, okay? Where we started as a team after this offseason that was abysmal, after being thoroughly disappointed by the outcome in the Green Bay Packers game, where we literally just didn't do it, where we literally saw a running game not do shit. And you have to look at today and say our running game is probably no better than it was, since we have an aging running back. And our defensive front that couldn't stop the run, that I don't see where we've improved, with the exception of maybe Mozzie in a second year plays better. That the people who get blamed are the people who have actually been performing, okay? There's all the trade Micah, get rid of Micah because he's the problem. Yeah, he does his podcast. Yeah, his family talks. I get that and all that. But this is a guy that's performing. Remember when Jesse Holley last year blasted Micah and said, you know what, Micah is lazy and selfish because he doesn't want to put in the work to be a great linebacker, but he's a great edge rusher. He's a great edge rusher. What are you talking about? So we have the whole mentality of position flex is now become the thing that people think is supposed to be a norm. You got to play multiple roles. Now, I want to point out something here, because we keep looking and saying Micah is a failure because the defense didn't perform against the Green Bay Packers. Now, I look at a guy like Nick Bosa, who played in 17 games last year. 17 games. And I look at that, and he's got 10 and a half sacks in the season, right? I know Jason is going to come back at me and say, oh, how dare you say something. But I want you to understand, when I look at the defense of San Francisco, okay, when it's not just Nick Bosa, when you got Eric Armstead, who was on that defensive line, when you had Hargrave on that defensive line, and they weren't satisfied with just that. They said, you know what? We need to try and give ourselves a little bit of oomph. And they went out and they signed Randy Gregory. It wasn't great, but he got a couple of sacks in there. And they said, let's go out there and get a Chase Young too. So they bring in a Chase Young, a Randy Gregory, to go with an Eric Armstead, to go with a Hargrave, to go with Nick Bosa. And unlike the Cowboys that were taking safeties and making them linebackers or playing nickel coverage to try and stop the run, they had guys like Greenlaw and can't think of his name now. But just take a look at what they're doing. They don't say to Nick Bosa, hey, Nick, I need you to be an elite linebacker too. You got to play linebacker. That we are literally denigrating a guy who is getting more sacks to start a career than anybody other than Reggie White. Do y'all understand the mentality here? We keep thinking that one guy wins the Super Bowl. And that is not how it works, people. It doesn't. We've seen great quarterbacks. Great quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers. If it was just about one player, Dan Marino would have multiple of them. Aaron Rodgers would have multiple of them. Hell, the way you guys give Josh Allen credit, Josh Allen should have a couple of them. But a quarterback alone is not enough. You have to have one, but it's not the only thing that you have to have. And the same thing is, you can't have just one real good guy. Charles Haley did not make the Dallas Cowboys defense number one by himself. He didn't. He was a cog in the machine, a great one, but just one of the cogs of many that were there. We're expecting Micah Parsons to be able to cover the whole field. And the whole idea of, let's just trade him for more draft picks. You know, I remember the Raiders doing that. Didn't seem to help them any. This whole thing is just unfathomable, because what you do when you find generational players, when you find guys that are great at a position, what we end up doing is saying, you got to do it by yourself, bro. You got to do it by yourself. Instead of saying, what can we put around them to make that guy even better? See, this whole thing of Dak Prescott can't win the Super Bowl. Of course he can't win it by himself. Dak Prescott can't win the Super Bowl by himself. Micah Parsons can't win the Super Bowl by himself. And that's unfortunately our mentality. It's the Dallas Cowboys. It is the team collectively. Josh Allen can't win the Super Bowl by himself. Lamar Jackson cannot win the Super Bowl by himself. And I'm going to say, Pat Mahomes does not win that Super Bowl last year without Pacheco, without Andy Reid, and that defense that made critical stops. They just can't. And we have to get out of this mentality of one guy is the reason. It's the whole freaking team. It's the whole team. So, that's all I have to say about that. And at least, training camp is here. So at least we can talk about the Dallas Cowboys practicing and getting ready for games. I hope y'all have a great day. It's I hate to start off in a bad mood, but listening to the fans out there that are constantly just pointing, it's Micah, it's CD, it's Dak, just trade those guys. For what? For what? How many times have we drafted a great wide receiver like CD Lamb? How often? How often have we gotten great quarterbacks like Dak Prescott? How often? How often have we gotten players like Micah Parsons? I'm sitting here just thinking about the last 2 drafts at the moment that Tyler Guyton might not be ready to start as a first-round draft pick. And Mozzie Smith right there. And thinking about guys like Taco Charlton, Morris Claiborne, because there's no guarantee that just because you have draft picks that you're going to go ahead and find a guy who's going to be a ringer. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And we'll keep you abridged of any news with the Cowboys. Unfortunately, they don't have the Wi-Fi hooked up at the house here yet, so it takes a while for my videos to upload. So if it's breaking news, it may take some time before it actually gets broken on the Joe Boo Sports Report, but we'll do the best we can, bro. We'll do the best we can. And I hope y'all have a great, great day. Peace.